Hello, everyone, wherever you are in the world. I hope you're staying healthy and safe. My name is Olga Hakova. I'm an Associate Director at the Atlantic Council Global Energy Center. Thank you all for joining us for EnergySource Innovation Stream, where we aim to highlight new technologies with the potential to reshape the global energy system through discussions with companies and individuals working diligently to bring these innovations to market at scale. Today, we'll be hearing from Leo Simonovich, Vice President and Global Head for Industrial Cyber and Digital Security at Siemens Energy, and Sridhar Sudarshan, Chief Technology Officer at Spark-Ignition. They will discuss how artificial intelligence technologies can help industry defend remote critical infrastructure from escalating cyber attacks. But before we get started, I have two reminders. First, you can follow us on Twitter at AC Global Energy and use the hashtag InnovationStream. Second, following the presentation, you can submit questions through the Q&A function on Zoom, and I'll try to get to as many of these as possible. If you're watching on a different platform, unfortunately, we won't be able to take those questions. It's my pleasure to welcome Leo and Sridhar to Atlantic Council. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you both doing today?
Thanks, Olga. Doing well. Glad to be here.
Thank you, Olga. Thank you for having us.
It's a pleasure. Well, I just want to jump right in. I'm really excited for this presentation. Leo, go ahead and share your screen.
Can you see it, Olga?
Yes, if you just enter the presentation mode, that'd be great.
Will do.
Leo, whenever you're ready, we can get started.
All right. Well, thank you, Olga. Before we start, I want to thank the Atlantic Council for hosting this important conversation, and to all of you for joining us today. The partnership between Siemens and Spark-Ignition is unique. It's not often that a 170-year-old company and a 7-year-old company come together to address one of the most important problems in security, defense of our critical infrastructure. But in many ways, combining our company's expertise in industrial cyber and AI helped us look at the challenge differently. The energy industry is increasingly leveraging digital tools to shift decades-old assets towards greener, more distributed, and more sustainable future. While digitally connected energy assets like power plants, refineries, substations, and pipelines bring tremendous opportunities for positive change, economic, environmental, and otherwise, each also opens new potential security weaknesses. The reality is that current energy systems assets have been around for a long time, but never have been properly secured. This is particularly true of edge assets, some left untouched post-initial install. Our edge infrastructure is ever more vulnerable to nation-state attacks, which leverage sophisticated spycraft and to cybercriminals holding assets for ransom. Just this February, an attack shut down a compressor station from receiving operational data for 48 hours. In the next 2 years, 2.5 billion industrial devices will be brought online in the energy industry. This will balloon and alter the attack surface, which means that an exploit bought on the dark web for $60.99 can cause extraordinary damage. The result, a quickly widening gap between deployed defenses and sophisticated attacks targeting edge devices. But if this is such a critical problem, why hasn't it been addressed? The reasons are technical complexity, domain expertise, and frankly, economics. The sites are expensive to visit and not always digitally connected. Operating in remote, ruggedized environments, these isolated assets can't receive patches hourly, daily, or even weekly. That lag means even more infrastructure is exposed for weeks and months at a time. In our view, AI offers the answer. It provides continuous defense for the evolving threat landscape, which is why we partnered with Spark-Ignition to collaborate on DeepArmor Industrial, fortified by Siemens. So now let me turn it over to Sridhar to say a few words. Peter?
Thank you, Leo. And thank you for setting that scene so well on the challenges that we're facing. So just to highlight the fact that zero-day threats are real, and they can be debilitating for critical energy infrastructure for companies, cities, states, and countries. Machine learning techniques trained to recognize normal operations, intervene when anomalies occur at isolated facilities, are critical elements in a solution. AI-based technologies, we believe, are the only way to continuously stay ahead of the growing variety, the volume, and the velocity of such attacks. We've built an industrial cybersecurity product, DeepArmor Industrial, fortified by Siemens, ground up, using AI, trained for such OT attacks. It's groundbreaking. It gets ahead of threats. It flags never before seen attacks and threats. It's what we've been calling as zero-day threats, proactively. And it recognizes user behavior, finds anomalies, and protects assets. DeepArmor Industrial is agnostic of connectivity and our partner Siemens' longstanding experience in the OT environment, equipments. We can take the full gamut, install, service, tune the models specifically to workflows and environments with the aim to provide precision defense, to maintain the high availability and drive the reliability of production assets. DeepArmor Industrial, fortified by Siemens, provides a much needed complete solution to ensure secure, consistent, and continual operations. It's even more important as energy companies adapt to the current pandemic environment and beyond. With that, I'll turn it over to Olga. Thank you.
Thank you both so much. Really great. I'm going to kick it off with the questions. Could you talk about why machine learning is so important for identifying and dealing with cybersecurity threats?
Absolutely. So if you look at traditional approaches to protecting assets in the cybersecurity space, they've generally dealt with an approach where after attacks have been identified, signatures have been created to protect against those. And then that's what gets distributed across the board. In the OT environment, there are two problems with that. One, well, actually in cybersecurity in general, one problem is that the attacks are getting more sophisticated. The bad actors are increasing by the day, by the hour, and the sophistication of these attacks are growing. As Leo said, with a $20 product, you can, for $20, you can actually get, you can break a lot of systems. So you need to stay ahead of that, and machine learning provides that answer. In the OT environment, the other major challenge is the fact that you don't have connectivity of these systems, and these systems are running legacy environments, 20-year-old environments. So optimizing machine learning for those environments is also critical.
Excellent. Could you talk about whether the pandemic had any effect at all on increase in cyber attacks? Is there any correlation, or is it just that overall increased risk that you've seen in the last several years? Are there other additional motivations that this current unprecedented environment that has created for cyber attacks in any way? And this is for both of you, Leo and Sri.
Yeah, maybe I'll start. Oh, that's a great question. The pandemic has accelerated the move towards digitalization, towards remote connectivity. We call it plant to couch. So they're employees that are logging on from their homes to plant and to edge assets, so substations, pipelines, and that move, it's been necessary, but we've had to do it very quickly. And so as a result, what the effect has been as a major increase in the attack surface. Think of it as the attack surface not just growing, but also becoming more distributed and introducing a number of new points of entry for the bad guys looking to attack our critical infrastructure.
If I may just add to that, Leo, the other cause, or one of the side effects of the pandemic scenario, has been the impact loss around the world, various factors, and what that has one of the, as I mentioned, one of the side effects of that is bad actors do get paid to do bad things, right? And so that also increases the number of potential attacks, or is a cause for an increase in the number of attacks. The fact that you traverse a lot of different networks and you're trying to adapt, businesses are trying to adapt very quickly to the continually changing environment of plant management, which probably has been very similar for decades prior to this, probably through all of our lifetimes, is a first time that we're all facing a situation like this. And so being able to adapt quickly inadvertently also causes security gaps or holes. And so the more layers of protection you can add, the better.
And I wanted to remind all of our.
And just to
go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say that what all of this has done, and just to cap it off, is it widened the gap between the machine technology environment. Within the operational technology, an attack against a power plant, a substation, can do two things. First, it can cause loss in production, a shutdown. But the second thing that it does is it can cause a safety event and harm the well-being of workers, but also cascade out, especially within the grid, and cause economic damage as well. A number of attacks against critical infrastructure have been highlighted over the last couple of years. And what's been noteworthy is that the losses have ranged in millions because the operators couldn't bring the assets back online. And with edge assets, it's particularly hard to secure those because they're distributed and because they're heterogeneous. And so when we came together and looked at this problem, we thought about how to build defenses that would address old problems and known malware, and as Sridhar said, also the unknown or the novel attacks.
And I think just one thing to add to that is, as Leo said, it is a damage in the OT side on multiple levels. Financial is just the start, where when sometimes in a regulated environment there are penalties for downtimes, for example. So that's certainly adds up very fast. As Leo said, these are harder to detect and correct, unlike sort of known problems. So they take the period of downtime is a lot longer. The third thing is the fact that when you're servicing your clients, whether as an energy, so let's say as a utility company, if you're servicing cities or regions, you could have blackouts. I mean, you could have leaks. You could have in the oil and gas space. So there are a number of things that can have multiplier effect of impact from a financial perspective, not just for the energy companies, but for the environment, for individuals, for consumers, as well as for from a safety perspective for life as well. So I think that's the way that the cost in the OT space significantly multiplies versus an IT attack, which is largely financial.
That makes sense. Okay, we have a question from Richard Zhu, and Richard is asking, is this the internet firewall concept?
It's actually, it's probably, I would say that's one component of it. One element of it is a firewall. It is multiple layers that you're trying to develop as a secure protective protection for each of these assets and for the entire plants. So there's a notion of running an agent on these assets, which is continuously looking for and monitoring and finding behaviors that are never that are unusual, right? And unusual means a lot of different things, but that's where the machine learning ways of sort of learning from all of the other systems and assets and being able to apply that quickly is one layer. On top of that, then these assets are obviously performing a lot of different types of functions. So being able to tune what the role of that asset in a larger plant or a larger system is, be able to recognize the fact that activities are continuously sort of evolving and protecting it at each of those layers, and then being able to then notify the right folks, the right individuals that are managing these environments is critical. So, you know, with a lowercase f firewall as a common noun, yes, it is a layer of a series of firewalls that are being established, but it's not a one-to-one correspondent with exactly an internet firewall. So I think it certainly encapsulates the concept.
Lee, did you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, well, I think of the firewall as an instrument that protects a network, and that network is usually contained. Think of it like a system. What we aim to do with DeepArmor Industrial, fortified by Siemens, is to protect many distributed assets, some networked, some not. Most firewalls have rules baked into them, and they only protect against known threats. We developed a solution that protects distributed and very diverse types of assets. And those assets, each of them has specific types of programs or applications, and they're used differently in different environments. But if you want to develop a common risk posture as an organization, right, you got to figure out how to apply that across all that diversity. And what that means is establishing a set of specific criteria for defense, but also, in our view, protecting against the evolving threat landscape. And our technology, as well as our service model and the way that we configure this technology to be precise, should have called it precision defense. And that's exactly what we mean. We want to protect the environment, whether it's a substation with a pipeline, and exactly how it's used, while providing what we're calling umbrella defense for the whole fleet and in the complete operating environment.
Fantastic. We have a question from John Denny, and John is asking, you know, where the application is in terms of deployment, deployed in practice, and can you also talk about some of the performance to date, if you have any feedback on that?
Maybe I'll start, or Leo, go ahead.
Go ahead, Shreya, please.
No, I was just going to say that we have just announced the product. It is being launched this month, and it has been it's been running through the rigors of the Siemens's large ecosystem of testing and analysis and validating and so on. And we've had some conversations with our customers to begin deploying this within weeks. So that's where we are in terms of the deployment. From a performance perspective, there's a couple of ways of looking at performance. One is the performance from a protection standpoint. And from that perspective, it is, as I mentioned earlier, DeepArmor is a product, an AI product, cybersecurity, AI-based cybersecurity product that we at Spark-Ignition have built and have built for many years now. And it has been, DeepArmor Industrial has been built with the same principles, with the same underlying principles, but has been further trained and enhanced on the OT network versus the DeepArmor product, which was primarily designed for the IT environment. So combining these two, the performance that we have seen as continuously looking at zero-day threats that we analyze on a daily basis, both on our side as well as at Siemens' side, we're seeing it essentially provide the very, very high degrees of protection. So it's something that we have we feel very, very good and very proud of.
Yeah, we have talked to a number of customers, some large, some small, in the oil and gas sector and in the utility vertical. And I think we have on a pain point. The challenge is real. The assets that have been traditionally air-gapped, as we talked about, are now coming online. And the operators are struggling with basic maintenance. So every conversation that we've had has been enlightening, because questions like, when do I go out in the field and maintain these assets? How often do I need to do it? Could I imagine a world in which I would never have to patch again? And so what we want to do is work with customers to help them deploy this technology in a way that gives them layers of defense and helps increase their protection as they become more digital, as they come online, and as they think about how to move and transition their infrastructure towards renewables, towards cleaner and more distributed technology.
Excellent. And Matthew Glazer had a question on air gap systems. So I think you touched on a lot of that. I just wanted to check to see if you had anything to add, just to make sure we answer Matthew's questions.
Well, the only thing I'll say is that air gap is a myth. And when somebody thinks that they're gap and they're safe, I think I would challenge that. And the reason is because the majority of attacks in operational technology environment, and sometimes we call them physical digital attacks, come from within. And so we've seen this quite a bit over the last couple of years, whether it's a supplier or an employee bringing portable media into the environment, and then introducing a piece of malware that suddenly connects the asset to the outside world. And so what we wanted to do is develop a piece of technology and machine learning models that would recognize and deal with unauthorized access, while at the same time allowing key and critical applications to run. Because within the operational technology environment, the rule of thumb is do more good than harm. And the key to that is precise tuning and rigorous testing to make sure that the technology works exactly as it's meant to in air-gapped environments. What we've seen is that the products that are out there, mostly focused on IT, need to connect to the cloud and are just not well suited to this precision defense.
Excellent. Okay, we'll do one final question, and then we can wrap this up. I want to talk about scalability for this exciting new technology. In addition to the energy industry, what other control systems could DeepArmor help secure from cyber attacks?
So as the DeepArmor Industrial product itself is designed to run on a number of different operating systems, including legacy operating systems, as I mentioned, going back 20 years and running on, for example, Windows 2000, Windows XP systems, etc. And so in essence, being able to run DeepArmor Industrial on any of the HMIs or any control systems that essentially support those prereq environments are doable. It's just that we are taking a focused approach to deploy these from a market perspective in the energy environment, because we believe that the energy industry faces the most amount of threats and is also vulnerable and critical, and increasingly critical in today's day and age. So, but yes, it is designed to work on any HMIs and compressors and systems that support the right operating system. And we're going to continue to add more and more support as we go along.
Leo, did you have anything to add to that?
I think Sridhar summed it up nicely. The only thing I'd add is, the energy industry is near and dear to my heart. This is what I focus on at Siemens. And it's one of the most attack critical infrastructure verticals, and is really the backbone of our economy. And so we wanted to focus there by picking assets that are most vulnerable to attack and securing them, because the question that we asked ourselves is, what matters the most? Where do we get started in a way that gives us the most risk reduction? And to the point of scalability, it's all about deploying this in a way that's cost effective, that's precise, and that allows us to address the diversity of assets. While, I talked about this a little bit, of this idea of umbrella defense. As companies evolve, we want to protect the old, we want to protect the new, and we want to protect the air gap and also the connected environment.
Wonderful note to finish on. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and especially Leo and Sridhar for your engaging presentation. Make sure to connect with them on LinkedIn and follow them on Twitter at Leo_Simonovich and at Sridhar Sudarsan. And you can follow the companies as well at Siemens_Energy and at Spark-Ignition. This presentation is also available on the Atlantic Council website, Twitter, Facebook, so please make sure to share it with your colleagues. If you'd like to learn more about this topic, I encourage you to read the article that Leo and Sridhar wrote for the Atlantic Council GC EnergySource. It's titled, "Cybersecurity Can Help the Energy Industry Seize This Moment to Embrace Its Digital Future." So let us know your thoughts on this article. I'd like to thank our director, Randy, as well as Lauren, Roger, Jasper, and Katie for your hard work in making today's event happen. I hope all of you will join us for the next production of Innovation Stream on July 17th, featuring Rob Lee, CEO of Dragas, who will discuss industrial cybersecurity solutions. Also, make sure to register for our event on Cheniere's 2019 Corporate Responsibility Report. We will host a virtual fireside chat with Chris Smith, Senior Vice President for Policy, Government, and Public Affairs at Cheniere. This event is scheduled for July 16th at 10:45 a.m. Thanks for tuning in. Have a wonderful weekend. Remember to wear a mask. We hope to see you next time at EnergySource Innovation Stream.
Thank you, Olga.
Thank you.